This is Red Green, and on today's show, Harold's going to get a date, Bill's going to build a campfire, and I'm going to make a bed into a garden tractor.
And now, here's a man who's been called the greatest Canadian cultural icon since Michael J. Fox. The man who put the wood in Hollywood, my uncle, your host, Red Green.
Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning us in. It's a lousy, rotten job, but somebody's got to do it. And speaking of a guy who does a rotten job, have you met my producer-director, Harold?
Hello, world.
Well, I guess that would be the second disaster up at the lodge this week. The first one happened a few days ago. A bunch of the guys decided they would try a little truck farming, so they went out and bought a little truck. And they were going to put some vegetables in there, and sure enough, within about a half an hour, Stinky Peterson was caught up a tree, Buster Hadfield has been electrocuted himself, and Moose Thompson set his hair on fire. Golly, it's no wonder so many young people are leaving the farm.
Uncle Red, is that what all those sirens were about?
Yeah. Actually, they spaced their accidents out about 4 hours apart, so the fire trucks had to come back and forth 3 times.
Oh, you know what? I read somewhere that, you know, if you call the fire department too often, they're going to start calling you for charging you for every call.
Yeah, well, that's what they told us. We gotta pay them now every time they come out.
No! Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I read. I read that somewhere. I read that. Now we said the same. I read that somewhere. I don't remember where I read it, but I read that. I did.
Shut up, Harold.
Okay.
So what we've decided to do is to form our very own volunteer fire department up here, and guys are pretty excited about it, except for the volunteer part.
You know where I read it? You know where I read it? On TV. That's why, yeah. That's why I couldn't remember where I read it, because I saw it on TV. I didn't even read it. It was like it was in front of me, not that way. It was, you know.
Would you mind if I smacked you, Harold?
You go right ahead. I'll phone the fire department, and it's going to cost you.
Well, now, see, I would consider that money well spent. Should have seen old man Sedgwick last night, dancing in the lodge by the pale moonlight. He jumped on the table and hopped through the stew. He leapt on the mantle and yelled twice and threw a shoe. He jigged on the wood stove and burned off his sock. He danced out the front door and splashed off the dock. He bounced on the bottom going way down the lake. Man, when he gets a Charlie horse, it's a dandy. This week on Handyman Corner, we're going to show you something fun you can do with a bed for those of you who are over 50 and are looking for alternatives. I got this idea when I was stuck in a traffic jam out on the highway. They had one of them big machines that is like a one-step deal. It breaks up the asphalt and pulls it into the thing, and it melts it all down, and then it puts it back down and rolls it flat. And I thought to myself, maybe we could do the same thing for gardening, a one-step machine. And I got this antique bed that was left over from old man Sedgwick's honeymoon, so I knew I wouldn't have to worry about metal fatigue. All right, now, step one, what you want to do is get yourself an outboard motor and mount this to the footboard, or as we call it, the transom. Okay, and when you mount it with the prop going forward, because this here is going to be your cultivator. Now, if you got the loam, you might be able to get by with, say, 9.5 Evinrude set for trolling. But if your yard is full of clay and stones and maybe a couple of buried wood stoves, you might have to move up to a 300-horse Mercruiser V6 with trim tabs and power tilts. Maybe get the prop off a Cessna 150. But either way, whatever engine you use, you're going to mount it onto the bed using exactly the same technology. The handyman's secret weapon, duct tape. Now, if you go with the big motor on this, you might want to use, say, 2 or 3 rolls of duct tape and then really secure down maybe 100-pound test line or even a couple of coat hangers. Now, I've used the same technique to attach these coat racks to the sides of the footboard, and we got a couple of hot water bottles hung here. Really stripped out old man Sedgwick's room for this project. And we got plant food in this one. We got weed killer in this one. And then they come down through these hoses. It's a gravity feed, kind of like Moose Thompson on spaghetti night. And then the two chemicals are joined together into this bedpan where they're turned into fertilizer. Kind of apropos, isn't it? Now I've added a reading light to the coat rack there. I mean, what we'd ever need a reading light at the lodge for is beyond me. But this allows us to do our planting at night. And the hot water bottles are all set to go here, and I've added an umbrella for a little extra protection, which is something you want to think about when you're near a bed. And now these pillowcases I mounted on the back here, what I'm going to do is, I filled the one, I'll just top this baby up with some flower seeds. And then the seeds come out the hole in the bottom, planting flowers as we go. I got some bulbs here, and I'll just fill up my pockets with the bulbs. And what I can do with them, see, is just bounce them off the bed as we're going along, just like that, you know. Oh, missed the bed. No. We used to do that. As kids. Of course, we used hamsters. And we're about right. You know what? You know what'd be, I think, a real treat here is. Why don't I go and put my pajamas on just to kind of get in the spirit of the whole rig here. Hang on a sec. I forgot. These are my pajamas. Okay, well, I think we're all set. And just before we turn a real ugly-looking piece of crap into a real nice garden, I just remind you that if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Now, I'll just start this up. Okay. Umbrella up there. And we're going gardening.
And now it's that part of the show where we expose the three little words men find so difficult to say. I don't know. And here to prove that point on the expert portion of the show, of course, is my Uncle Red and his good friend, Mr. Hap Shaughnessy. Alrighty, dear experts, I want to live a life filled with excitement and adventure. I want to live on the edge, to gobble up the world and spit it out. I want to plunge headfirst into danger and shout at the devil. But I don't have the nerve or even anything remotely dangerous or different in my life to even think about trying that. Is there a secret that gives the courageous people the courage to do adventurous adventures?
Well, yes, there is, Harold. It's called total lack of foresight. I mean, if these idiots could see what was coming, they would never become parachutists or race car drivers or parents.
Well, I'm going to have to contradict you on that, Red. I mean, taking risks, that's an obligatory part of the human experience. I mean, where would we be if I hadn't taken risks? There'd be no such thing as insulin. No passenger side airbags. No United Nations.
No lie detector tests.
Hey, excuse me, I think we're just getting a little bit off topic here. Our viewer wants to know if there's any hints that you can give him about, developing courage.
Well, here's a trick that I used just before I jumped the English Channel. I stared at myself from top to toe in the mirror, and I said, all right, if this doesn't go well, then what's the worst that can happen? You got two sets of everything, eyes, ears, arms, legs. That makes one of them a spare. You got a 50% margin for error. Well, with fingers, you can make 9 mistakes and still be able to dial 911.
Buzz, talk to you for a minute. Buzz.
Aw, man, stupid piece of crap. Red! How's it going, man? Whoa, hey, Harold, come here. Come here, it'll be funny. Oh, come. Ah, you wuss. So, did you see that driller like it just cut out for no reason?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, Buzz, we're starting a volunteer fire brigade up here at the lodge.
I know. Yeah. They asked me to be the guy that sounds the alarm. Get a load of this. I got some stuff here. Watch this. Look at this. Watch it.
Oh, no, Buzz. Buzz. All I need is for you to wind up the hoses.
Wind up the hoses?
Yeah, that's it.
Aw, man. Winding hoses, that job's a total yawn. That's weenie work. Where'd you get Harold to do it, man? You know what I'm doing? I'm converting my plane into a water bomber. Yeah, I'm gonna fly over the fire, and I'm gonna dive bomb and douse it with water. You stay here, and I'll dive bomb you with some water.
You know, I think Buzz means well, but the problem is he always gets carried away with everything he tries to do.
And for the small fires, you know what I got? I got this for the small fires. Yeah, and if you were a small fire, you'd be out by now. You'd be put out.
I am put out.
But don't you sweat it, Red. With me around, if there's a fire, you know I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
Oh, Uncle Red. Have a little problem with the volunteer fire department?
Well, we got real lucky out there. I had just finished forming the whole volunteer fire department, and suddenly one of the vehicles caught fire. So talk about good timing.
Wasn't the possum van, was it?
No, Harold, the possum van won't burn. Believe me. I've tried that 1,000 times. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't save the vehicle, but we did prevent the fire from spreading to anything else.
It was the fire truck, wasn't it? That's a yes.
Well, the trouble started when Bustard and Stinky, they bought one of those old street cleaners to use as a fire truck. Because, I mean, it carries water, and we figured with that sweeper in the front, it might be good for brush fires, you know. Of course, they brought her up to the lodge. She was bright yellow, and so they painted her all red. And then they found out that the fire departments now are painting theirs bright yellow. So they painted her bright yellow. And then they found out that that's only the fire departments in the city, and that the ones out in the country are painting them red. Shows up better or something. But the yellow paint hadn't dried yet, and so that was the yellow on the red on the yellow. And so what they did was they painted her again, but this time with a quick-drying red lacquer.
Excuse me, Uncle Red, I would think that would make the paint run like water, wouldn't it?